Shall we jump into the questions? See, get some
Sure.
specific answers. That would be
Yeah.
helpful. I've got 5 questions.
Okay.
First one. What were the most valuable insights that you gained from this course, and how will they improve your approach to information security policy development?
I would say the most valuable insights that I gained was the practical application of differentiating the concepts that are within policy writing and information security programs. So the concepts that are kind of strewn about and often misused are very neatly defined in this course. So as far as creating risk registers and elaborating on the concept of human risk management, which we all know is where the industry is heading. When it comes to elaborating on those 5 points, I found immense value in laying out everything on spreadsheets, you doing a comparison between the types of risk assessments, the potential impact, the potential value, how you present that information to the shareholders, to the stakeholders, because ultimately the buy-in from the top is what is going to be needed to effectively initiate the change that's needed throughout any size organization. And I've worked with organizations that are 3 to 5 people. I've worked in organizations that are 3 to 500. I've worked in organizations that are 300,000 and above employees. And the universal concept that is present in all of these businesses is that the individual users at the bottom always reflect the top buy-in priorities on security and their policy functions. And if the top regards the policies as non-negotiable, as something that is to be adhered to, or whether or not they regard the policies as just a compliance checklist, and it is something there more for decoration than process improvement, it is reflected down to the very bottom. And everyone working on the team, be it from interns to new hires to senior middle management, how people address the policies and how people apply the policies is the difference in whether or not the business is able to obtain, and not just for information security, but results of any kind. If your management buys into the policy's value, then you see it reflected all the way down. If your management does not buy into the policies, are not aware of the policies, and doesn't implement or adapt to the changing business needs, total chaos and calamity ensues. And that's not just for information security, that's in all aspects of business processes.
Brilliant answer. So just a follow-up question on that, on your response there, was how would this course help anyone who's taken it get the buy-in from their executives, and how does the specific way that I teach it make that easier for them to achieve that result?
One of the main things that I really loved and appreciated about this was your very candid, unfiltered honesty about how we address risk and how we assess risk. This is the most important factor for the business, and especially business leaders, is we're all very data driven. We need to see facts and figures and how assessing and mitigating certain risks are going to correlate to money in our pocket, right? Because that's the key aspect of the business. We would all love to think that security is the primary function and doing the job in a secure way. However, the industry, all industries, manufacturing, healthcare, tech, all lean very heavily on their main focus is profit. Anyone's job who wants to enact change needs to be able to make a case for how we are going to do it, the problem that needs to be addressed, how we are going to fix it, and what the results are going to be. And the risk factor being a little bit of magic, trying to fortune tell and pull facts out of thin air is difficult. And I will tell you that executives know this. They know that most of the risk scenarios we create are truly just to fill blank pages with numbers and statistics that makes them feel like someone has done an adequate job assessing the potential risks. Anyone who's ever been in business knows that you cannot plan for essentially anything, let alone everything. There's a very finite amount of scenarios that you know and can expect to encounter. Beyond that, everything else is just you're trying to fortune tell. You're trying to make things up out of thin air. That being said, your course actually shows different ways to measure different risks. Using those risk assessments, you are now going to begin to actually correlate some of your actual data given past events. You can take those facts and figures as far as the rate of occurrences of which incidents have occurred. The main point being is that all decisions are data driven, and it's hard to create valuable, accurate data with hypotheses and scenarios that haven't happened yet. So when you need to enact change, you need data, right? So your human risk management, your elaboration on human risk management is probably one of the most beautiful explanations that I see, because it is more of a newly emerging concept. It really, truly, it's been there since the inception of information security, right? We know that people are typically going to be the fault point in any business or organization. So building on the human risk management and being able to communicate that these data points are what we can realistically expect. These data points are something that is just predicted. These data points are something that other businesses use as a gauge. Here's where we fall in all of those scenarios. Being able to pinpoint the exact needs of the business given their exposure to certain elements in industries is what I really enjoyed that you drove home, that you made it a point to lean heavily on in the course. Anyone that is in a position to try to sway upper management or executives to make necessary policy and procedural decisions does not typically have all of the data. And anyone that says that they do is probably not being entirely transparent. So I love the fact that you address this, you look at head on, you don't try to make it seem like a science when it is not. We can incorporate statistical data, we can incorporate industry trends, we can incorporate a lot of factors that are measurable, but we can't account for everything. And making sure that you're fluid in your policies, you're creating a space where employees feel welcome and able to address concerns is one of the key factors, I think, that distinguishes your course from other policy writing courses.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's great. Question 2. Can you describe a specific challenge that you have faced in creating security policies before taking this course, and how the knowledge that you've gained will help you overcome it?
I will say that the biggest hurdle I've faced in any sort of security policy drafting, adaptation, and implementation was always trying to consider the basis of knowledge amongst the users, always trying to consider writing the policies in a manner that everyone could understand. And there is a human tendency to overcomplicate simple things. And this is very prevalent in existing IT security policies. What I think that this course helped me to understand was that it is perfectly acceptable within this industry to write your policies as addressing humans. And I will tell you that it's such a simple concept, but it is not widely accepted. When you look into real security policies for real organizations, they have everything that your course warns against. the legalese, the totalitarian language, the inability to really decipher what the workflow or process should look like. And your course leaned heavily upon incorporating these factors and making sure that when people of all ages, of all backgrounds, of all experience levels are reading the policy, they're able to understand, work together, and correlate with their respective teams in order to drive the outcomes that the policy was intended to produce.
Wow, what a great answer. Thank you. Number 3, how has this course impacted your confidence and ability to develop effective security policies?
I would say that this course has given me a boost of confidence, as before my only exposure to the security policy and writing was very, as I said, totalitarian. It was, we need X result and we have A and B tools to accomplish that. Taking this course now has emboldened me to be able to address some very uncomfortable industry truths head on, and that most users can be a potential danger to the organization if they are not properly instructed, properly supported, properly trained in order to mediate risk. And just, it's amazing to me how many organizations lean so heavily on 15-minute videos for training. They lean so heavily on having just a quick run through on the do's and don'ts, which, let's be honest, everyone in this day and age has a little bit of exposure to what we should and shouldn't be doing on workplace devices. However, if you don't create the environment for continuous support, continuous feedback, now all of the policy writing, process engineering, business advancement and development, rapid improvement events and focus groups all focus on addressing the problem, creating a solution, and implementing those plans. However, the continuous revision, the seeking feedback, keeping the document moving and procedures moving in a continuous flow is something that is really only a buzzword. Your course kind of helps me be emboldened to say it's okay to say we missed the mark on this one. We need to circle back. We need that continuous improvement and adaptation. And this is all part of the cycle. So while the business itself gave a 90-day timeline, you need to be emboldened. You need to take the reins and say, we can produce a document in 90 days, but we'll need to circle back. We're only human. We're not going to get everything right. This policy is written for humans. It is not written to program robots. So let's put more key focus into the revisions, the collaboration, and then we'll have actual obtainable results repeatedly versus hitting a mark one time and then having to start back at scratch the next time.
Brilliant. Thank you. What specific skills or strategies from the course do you find most useful and why?
I found the risk registers and the risk evaluation method to be the most valuable because from my previous experience, I have found that how the organizations I've worked with evaluated risk differed greatly from the priorities and situational data that is input in your risk registers and your assessments. Now, I know the qualitative and quantitative assessments are nothing new. However, knowing that you need the proper data to back up these figures is something that is just, it's missed. It's missed in all organizations. The key skill that I've taken away from this is how to effectively create data points that will showcase value to the business when trying to address security concerns. which correlates to better budgets, better team funding, better attention, key focus being allocated to these very crucial documents and processes. The human risk management part is something that statistically there's a lot of things that high-level executives look at when coordinating responsibilities, roles, projects. You have to know that certain people with access to certain data pose a greater risk. This has been a well-known factor in any business that I've worked with, and the separation of duties has existed since the beginning of time for that reason, is to just try to mediate or limit any potential damage that a person could inflict maliciously or accidentally. The biggest skill that I just absolutely love this course for empowering me with is the fact that we can take human tendencies, which are traditionally considered unmeasurable, but they're not. They are very, very measurable, and there is statistical data to back this up. We can take those risk scenarios, correlate them into quantitative and qualitative assessment rosters, and be able to extrapolate, find the key points that align, and from those key points, you now have a data set that is more accurate. You have a data set that is more predictive of actual outcomes instead of just hypothetical scenarios.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And the last one, what would you say to someone considering taking this course, and how do you think it could benefit them in their career or their organization?
I am going to sound a little bit like a pop star fangirl for this. Anyone considering taking the course, I would say do it. Do it. You're a fool if you don't. We have wasted so much time and so much money and so much energy on everything else. For the time and the money spent taking this course, you are going to gain such valuable insight into the industry, the policies, the processes, the procedures. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. The course is valuable because it helps you understand the key concepts that policy writing is meant to address. It helps you understand human behavior and how you can adapt and anticipate risks and benefits associated with it. It helps you understand how to formulate your ideas and concepts into actionable instructions. It will help you identify the method that are most important. The delivery of the message is typically the difference between a person understanding, doing, having continuous implementation of knowledge presented. So if a person is able to retain it, they are able to implement it in their daily lives, and then they are able to take that implementation and show valuable action for future events, projects, groups. You have a valuable asset that far surpasses anything that is currently on the market.
Amazing. Thank you very much. That's a brilliant review.
So I would like to just pose this answer for anyone considering taking Stewart's course, is that it has unparalleled value. You will not find another certification course in the industry that is this value packed for such little money. You are going to gain practical knowledge that you can apply to any industry, any project, any scenario in any given business environment.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yes, you as well, Stuart. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.